We're learning about the 3 men who died during an avalanche near Girdwood.
Plus, March, wildfire danger in Alaska. Everything you need to know about burn permits and preventing emergency situations.
And pulling a lease on a Fairbanks building, how the decision could take its toll on tourism.
And winter weather is making a return to some of Alaska. I'll show you where it piled up today and where more is coming.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
We're learning more about the men who died in an avalanche Tuesday in the mountains near Girdwood, including their names that were released today.
Lauren Maxwell has been talking with some of their family members. Lauren, what can you tell us?
Well, what I can tell you is I spoke today with John Eppert, and he lives in Anchorage. His brother is Charlie Eppert. He's one of the men that died in the avalanche. But it turns out that all of the victims were good friends who grew up together in Montana. Now, that includes 39-year-old David Linder of Florida, 39-year-old Charlie Eppert of Montana, and 38-year-old Jeremy Leaf of Minnesota. They were part of a bigger group that was vacationing together that had come to Alaska specifically to ski in the mountains. John said the men were experienced heliskiers, that they started taking yearly trips together to basically ski around the world. And John says the day they died, the 3 men were skiing in a group of 5 that included another friend and a guide. He says the other friend was at a slightly higher elevation and was not caught up in the avalanche, but he watched his friends get swept away. Now, Charlie Eppert leaves behind a wife, a young daughter. We've reached out to the other families. We're hoping to learn more about them as well.
And Lauren, what about the recovery efforts today?
Oh, well, troopers were able to fly over the site today and do an aerial assessment. We're waiting for an update on that. But I can tell you there is fresh snow on the mountain, and avalanche conditions are still considered quite dangerous.
All right, Lauren, thank you very much. Well, Alaska's news source investigates the helicopter skiing company, Chugach Powder Guides, and their permit. Their guides oversaw Tuesday's heliski trip where the 3 men died in the avalanche. Investigative reporter Johnson Kuhn found a complex system. Johnson.
That's right, John. We should start by saying Chugach Powder Guides permit shows they're in good standing for operating on state lands. But the word state is key. And what we discovered is a lot of language about liability. A copy of Chugach Powder Guide's State Department of Natural Resources permit only talks about operating on state lands, saying the company assumes all responsibility, risk, and liability for its activities, and is required to notify the state of any accidents or injuries, including skier-triggered avalanche incidents, within 24 hours. A ADNR spokesperson tells Alaska's News Source Investigates because it appears the men died in the avalanche on Chugach National Forest land. That's where it becomes a federal issue. Alaska's News Source Investigates is working to obtain the company's federal permits from the Bureau of Land Management and National Forest Service. In the meantime, according to Chugach Powder Guide's website, the company attempts to shift liability to its customers, requiring them to sign liability waivers and acknowledge they're ultimately responsible for their own safety. And the company's website also mentions weather is continually monitored and poor flying conditions can limit guarantees on activities. And we'll keep you updated on what we learned from our request to the federal agencies. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's News Source.
New snow was reported across South Central this morning.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry joins us now. Melissa, is avalanche danger still a concern for other areas as well?
Yeah, it is. This time of year, generally, we see that avalanche danger starting to climb. But right now, specifically, especially after last night's storm, that avalanche danger is high. That's true for Turning and Pass, but also true south near Seward and Lost Lake. So, again, very dangerous avalanche conditions. It's overloaded with that snow from last night's storm. Human-triggered avalanches are very likely, and travel in avalanche terrain is not recommended. Now, we did get snow from that storm last night. We are still seeing some snow up in the valley. Check out this winter wonderland. Kim Troisi sharing this picture with us, Wasilla, this morning. About 2 inches of snow on the ground, but most of that snow has already melted, and it's been a while since Anchorage has had any significant snow here in the Anchorage Bowl, especially in those lower elevations. And that's going to be a concern as we move into wildfire season, again, as we are seeing that lack of snow depth. Now, just today, a public order was issued declaring an early start to the snow season. Burn permits are also now being required earlier than normal. Quinn White joins us live. Quinn, it's looking a lot more like spring than winter out there.
That's right, Melissa. Just take a look around me. It is brown, it's dry, and quite frankly, it's a little gross. Now, all this debris and this grass, it is just natural fuel for a wildfire.
We've all been seeing the exposed dry grass that we're not used to seeing this time of year. Firefighters are standing ready to protect our communities, but we do need every Alaskan right now to help prevent human-caused fires.
The National Interagency Fire Center is predicting fire activity beginning as early as late March, and it's expected to rise above seasonal averages in April and May, but then return to normal in June. That's why the state is declaring an early fire season for most of South Central and Southeast Alaska, as well as some communities in Western and Interior Alaska. They're now requiring burn permits in those affected areas. Those requirements are effective on March 17th. You can find more information over on our website. Now, the BLM Fire Management of Alaska says that federal spending freezes are not going to affect their ability to fight fires this wildfire season, and they are on track for their training schedule. Quinn White, Alaska's news source.
All right, thank you, Quinn. Yeah, a lot of dry ground out there, and not just the lack of snow, but warm temperatures this season. Warm temperatures even this evening behind this storm, still sitting in the mid to upper 30s across most of South Central, 42 degrees in Homer, cooling down now in Homer, in Seward, down to 31 degrees. We also have that warm air all the way through the interior, low 30s there, a little bit of light snow still pushing to the north into the Fairbanks area, and I'll have a closer look at that forecast here in a few minutes. But overnight tonight, as soon as that sun sets, we'll see those temperatures dipping right back down into those low to mid 20s. A cooler start for us tomorrow morning, so do be prepared for that. But we'll get that sunshine and mid 30s back for tomorrow afternoon. I'll have a closer look at that full statewide forecast here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Melissa. The Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center in Fairbanks was told that the Alaska Public Lands Information Center would have its lease canceled. The center provides information on state and federal lands in the interior. It's operated by the National Park Service. And officials say the visitor center makes up about 40% of the center's operating budget. Now, it's unclear what could happen if the lease cancellation goes through.
What makes it, even more challenging is if we just isolate it to, APLIC potentially leaving here, that's a big impact on our industry. But that's compounded with, the loss of Park Service employees in Denali and across the state. So, the sum total of all these, it's a level of concern for us here in the Fairbanks tourism industry, as well as our colleagues across the state, because how important those park services play within who we are as a destination.
Now, there could be some legal issues involved here. That part of the story is on our website.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.